He looked down at his frozen black legs, then looked at his pistol. He had one bullet left. Behind him, German soldiers were hunting him. In front of him, a pack of hungry wolves. If he shot himself, the pain would end. But what he did next is the reason the military tried to hide his medical files. Do not close this video, because in the next 3 minutes, you are going to see how far a human being can go when they refuse to die. Welcome back. Today, we are going to travel back to April 1942. The world is on fire. World War II is at its absolute peak. Deep inside the freezing forests of the Soviet Union, a man named Alexey Maresyev is sitting in the cockpit of his fighter plane. Alexey was not an ordinary pilot. He was a predator of the skies. He loved the speed, the adrenaline, and the hunt. But on April 4th, his luck ran out. High above the clouds, Alexey's squadron was ambushed by Germany's elite fighter jets. The sky turned into a web of tracer rounds and burning metal. Alexey fought like a demon, but a heavy burst of machine gun fire ripped through his engine. His plane began to scream as it plunged toward the ground at 300 miles per hour. The plane slammed into the snowy tops of a giant pine forest. The wings ripped off. The cockpit shattered. When Alexey opened his eyes, he was lying in deep snow. It was -30 degrees. His plane was a burning pile of metal. He tried to stand up, but a wave of blinding pain made him scream. His feet were crushed. The bones in his legs were shattered. He was completely alone, 40 miles behind enemy lines, in a forest crawling with German patrol teams and wild animals. Most people would have closed their eyes and let the cold take them. But Alexey didn't. I want to ask you a serious question right now. If you were in his place, completely alone, freezing, with shattered legs behind enemy lines, would you have given up, or would you try to survive? Write survive or give up in the comments right now. Let's see how many of you have the fighter spirit. Alexey realized his legs were useless. He couldn't walk. He couldn't even stand. So, he made a choice that sounds completely insane. He decided to crawl. Using only his elbows and his hands, he dragged his heavy body through the deep snow. Every single inch was pure agony. The snow cut through his gloves. The cold began to freeze his skin. By day 2, his food ran out. He had no bread, no meat, nothing. To survive, he ate pine needles. He ate the bark off the trees. He melted snow in his mouth just to stay hydrated. But the physical pain was only half the battle. The real terror was the silence of the forest. On night 4, as he lay shivering under a bush, he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. Heavy footsteps in the snow. He looked through the branches. It wasn't a German soldier. It was a massive, hungry Siberian bear looking for food. Alexey held his breath. His heart was beating so loud, he thought the bear would hear it. If he made one sound, it was over. The bear sniffed the air, just inches from Alexey's face. Alexey slowly reached for his pistol. He had only a few bullets left. He knew that if he shot the bear, the sound would alert every German patrol in a 5-mile radius. But if he didn't shoot, he would be eaten alive. With shaking hands, he aimed the gun. But luckily, the bear turned away, distracted by a noise in the distance. By day 8, things got much worse. The skin on Alexey's feet was turning black. This is a medical condition called gangrene. It means the tissue is literally dying while still attached to your body. The smell was terrible, and the pain was so intense that he would pass out for hours. When he woke up, he couldn't even crawl anymore. He was too weak. So, he changed his strategy. He started rolling. Yes, you heard that right. He would roll his body over and over, down the snowy hills, moving just a few yards every hour. This is absolutely mind-blowing. If you are watching this right now and thinking, this man is a machine, hit that subscribe button and type unstoppable in the comments. Your engagement helps us bring more hidden history to light. On the 18th day, Alexey was barely alive. His eyes were sunken, his body was just skin and bones, and his legs were completely dead, frozen solid like blocks of ice. He dragged himself out of the tree line and saw a small village. A group of local children saw something moving in the snow. They thought it was an animal, but when they got closer, they found a dying Russian pilot. The villagers quickly pulled him into a warm hut. They tried to feed him, but his stomach was so shrunk he couldn't even swallow soup. A medical helicopter was called, and Alexey was rushed to a military hospital in Moscow. The doctors looked at his legs and shook their heads. The gangrene had spread too far. If they didn't act immediately, the infection would reach his blood and kill him. The chief surgeon walked up to Alexey and gave him the worst news a pilot could ever hear. We have to amputate both of your legs below the knee. For a fighter pilot, losing your legs is a death sentence to your career. You can never fly again. You can never serve. You are finished. When Alexey woke up from surgery, he looked down. His legs were gone. In their place were just bandages and empty space. He fell into a deep depression. The nurses pity him. The other soldiers in the hospital looked at him with sadness. But Alexey's mind was different. He told his doctor, "I am going to fly again." The doctor laughed. "Son, you don't understand. No pilot in history has ever flown a fighter plane with prosthetic legs. It is physically impossible. You need your feet to control the rudder pedals. Without feet, you cannot turn the plane." Alexey replied, "Then I will be the first." He was given primitive, heavy wooden prosthetic legs. They were painful. They rubbed his skin raw, and they made him bleed. But every single day, while other patients were resting, Alexey was practicing. He forced himself to walk. Then he forced himself to run. And then he did something even more insane. He started learning how to dance. He believed that if he could master the quick, complex steps of traditional Russian dances on wooden legs, he could control a fighter plane. By early 1943, less than a year after his legs were amputated, Alexey walked into the Military Aviation Board. He demanded a flight test. Imagine the courage it takes to stand before a military board on wooden legs and demand a fighter jet. Let me know in the comments, do you think they let him fly? Or did they reject him immediately? Type fly, or reject before we reveal what happened. The military officials wanted to say no. They thought he was crazy. But his determination was so powerful that they agreed to let him take one practice flight. Alexey climbed into the cockpit of a modern, fast, and dangerous Lavochkin LA-5 fighter. He strapped his wooden legs to the rudder pedals. He took a deep breath, pushed the throttle forward, and took off. The instructors, watching from the ground, held their breath. But up in the sky, Alexey was in natural. He did loops, sharp turns, and dives. It was like he had never left. He passed the test with flying colors. He was officially sent back to the front lines. On July 20th, 1943, during the legendary Battle of Kursk, the biggest tank battle in human history, Alexey found himself back in the clouds. A group of German Ju-87 bombers, escorted by deadly Focke-Wulf fighter jets, were attacking Soviet troops on the ground. Alexey dived into the enemy formation. With his wooden legs firmly pushing the pedals, he executed a perfect, sharp turn, lined up his target, and pulled the trigger. Boom! A German fighter exploded in a ball of fire. But he wasn't done. Minutes later, he locked onto another Dushman plane, sending it crashing into the earth. He didn't just survive. He became an ace. Before the war ended, Alexey Maresyev shot down 7 more enemy aircraft after losing both of his legs. He proved to the entire world that the human mind is stronger than any physical limitation. Alexey Maresyev lived a long life and passed away in 2001, just hours before a massive celebration was supposed to be held in his honor. His story is a reminder that no matter how deep the snow is, no matter how cold the world gets, and no matter what you lose along the way, you are never truly defeated until you decide to stop crawling. The next time you think your life is too hard or your goals are impossible, think about the pilot who crawled 18 days through the frozen hell of World War II just to get back into the sky. If you made it to the very end of this video, you are part of the elite 1% who actually finishes what they start. Type, "I am a fighter," in the comments so I can personally heart your comment and know who you are. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe for more incredible hidden history stories. And share this video with someone who needs some motivation today. Please write your opinion in the comment box. Until next time, stay unstoppable.